back, everybody. Chart Addicts Expert Trader podcast coming back at you guys live. We got CueBanks in the house.
What up, what up, what up?
Real quick. You want to go ahead and tell the traders a little bit about yourself? You want to introduce yourself, tell them where you're coming from?
Definitely. Well, I'm born in Jamaica. I live currently in South Florida. I've been trading since 2014. I've been into it since like around 20 years old, which is like about 9 years ago now. I'm the owner and CEO of Wall Street Academy, Forever in Profit, and like a bunch of other companies also. So like, I do a lot, but I'm real big in my Forex niche itself, and I provide like a lot of education, a lot of just positive feedback, for the upcoming traders as well. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm like that person to actually go to actually help guide the upcoming traders.
For sure. All right.
Definitely.
So no, that's exactly why we had you on, is because you're one of those people at the top of their game that's looking to turn around and kind of help people, put a hand out and help pull people up. So I want to get to a little bit more about your background. So tell me how Forever in Profit started, and let's get to transition a little bit into how that turned into Wall Street Academy and sort of what you guys have today.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, Forever in Profit kind of just came like it literally just like fell in our lap. But me and my boy Ryan, we actually came up with the brand itself. The brand started from just a hashtag, and then after that, it kind of just like went viral within our little circle. And people just like how we actually making profit and analyzing and whatnot. That eventually came into a chat, and then that turned into an educational platform. And then from there, it kind of just grew, So like, it just really started from just a hashtag and just like good vibes, branding, and just people just liking how we actually go about our chart work.
That's crazy. That's simple.
Yeah,
I know that hashtag was coming in because there's probably a lot of profits being thrown around. You guys.
Nah, it's actually it was me. I was trading one pair for like 4 or 5 days, and I was like, yo, listen, like I'm forever in profit, and then I started a hashtag, and then after that, it just kind of made sense, and I think about it now, like, years and years and years later, like, think about it, it's forever in profit, you know what I'm saying? So everything that we do is pretty much to actually gain profit. So I feel like the name itself is just real self-explanatory, and it just made sense, a couple of years later. I'm looking back at it, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like a name that nobody can actually really say that, yo, that shit is dope as hell. You know what I'm saying? It just stands out.
That's a killer name. What did you do with it? So when you were doing Forever in Profit, did you want to do the education? Did you want to do the mentoring? What did you really want to do? Or were you just throwing out signals? What were you really doing?
Nah, like we were just teaching us, like, we had a little group chat on Facebook. It was like about 10 people, and the main goal of that was just to educate, just a few people, and then over time it just came more and more people coming out of nowhere. And then people started seeing the results from what we were teaching them. And then from there, we started to take it a bit seriously when it came to actually building like a nice educational platform that people all over the world actually can actually benefit from. So, it literally just fell in our lap when it came down to it. But we took it, we actually nurtured it, and we're here today,
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, man.
All right, so what was the timeline between Forever in Profit? How did Wall Street Academy come about?
So pretty much that's like a crazy story because
let's go. We love these.
Nah, because all right, so pretty much Forever in Profit was just me and Ryan, and then we actually added on 2 other people on our brand, and over time you kind of get a sense of like I kind of had a vision for how I wanted FIP to actually be. You know what I'm saying? So like, when you have one mind and then 3 other minds, having like a different mindset on the vision of something, it all kind of clashes. You know what I'm saying? So eventually, we all got in like a little bit of beef and that kind of stuff, and then we all just fell out. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, I left FIP. You know what I'm saying? Or that whole thing happened back in 2005, 2016. 2015, 2016, like late. And then I started Wall Street Academy January 2016 to actually come back to the entire niche, because I was not going to make, one thing stop me, because if I actually built one thing, I could build it all over again from scratch. You know what I'm saying? So like, that was Wall Street Academy. That was like me actually being reincarnated into like, something else, because I actually left that initial brand itself, because I actually had so much vision and so much like thoughts on it that it kind of overpowered everybody else's opinions, and they didn't like that. So yeah.
So that's honestly really crazy because it was just so natural. It was so organic.
Yeah. It was natural, man.
But it was also because you kind of had a vision for it, and it was moving in that direction in the way that you kind of saw it opening up, even though there was some bumps in the road, ended up leading to a good thing. And now
man. I mean, I look back at it now and I'm like, I mean, I don't regret anything that happened, because I feel like it made me a bit more serious on my brand itself. It made me actually be full control of my brand itself. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, I mean, Forever Profit is definitely the main brand. It is the first brand, and like once they actually understood that, all those opinions and everything were hurting the brand over time. Me and Ryan actually came back together like a year later, and we actually brought back FIP and then pretty much rebranded the entire structure of things, and then just built it back up. Because I feel like that's like one brand that we don't want to actually hurt too much, because that's our baby.
Okay, no, I definitely see that. That's crazy. So
yeah,
wow, that's are those the only two brands associated with each other, or is there more? Is the
FIP is pretty much like an umbrella. Like you have FIP up top, and then you have Wall Street Academy and Technical Prosperity, which is Ryan's zone, and then under Wall Street Academy we have the Spanish education, which is Profit for Life with Emil Trader. And then we have a new partnership with Drew, Boston Up with Drew. So those are branches under Wall Street Academy.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Well done.
Yeah. So you have Wall Street Academy, which is me, and then pretty much branches under that to actually help educate other people in other kind of ways.
So if you guys are sitting at home, make sure you're taking notes. It's not just trading. After you pull the money out, there are things that you got to do, or things you can do. From producing assets. He said he's got FIP at the top, umbrella company, and then he's got Wall Street Trader, and then it was technical. What was it?
Prosperity, Technical Prosperity, Wall Street Academy.
But under Wall Street Academy, it's got its own legs, and so that's the importance of making this thing run. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. So I'm really interested in the psychology of traders, right?
Okay.
Because the podcast is for the newer guys who are really trying to get their foot into trading.
Definitely.
Because you've been in so many different phases, you've been with so many different kinds of traders and different points of their life. What would you find in a new trader that's very common? So let's start off with that.
I feel like Instagram kind of hurts the learning curve in a sense, like, because they actually see so many people on Instagram in their profiting stage that they feel as if like they should be profiting a lot faster than what they are. You know what I'm saying? So like they kind of rush the process a lot more than what's needed, because people don't understand that like the learning curve is so frail, and if you actually try to speed it up too quick, you're not gonna comprehend a lot of the material like how you expect it to.
What do you mean by frail? Can you touch up on that a little bit?
Frail meaning that like anything can affect it, as far as like you could actually have a person that comes out of nowhere saying, hey man, like use this indicator, use that indicator. Like it could be pretty much taken over by any other person in their circle to think a different kind of way. And then that actually hurt that person's learning curve in the long run.
Okay, I definitely see that. Yeah, people are.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
All right. So what else besides that? So they're obviously very susceptible to all these different things, and running and chasing different strategies and different strategies. What else would, okay, so let's move on to a different set of trader, which would be somebody who's like in the middle ground, who still hasn't really found consistency, but they've seen some profits and they're kind of getting their foot in the door. What have you seen the similarities between those people, the things that make them trip up and the things that they do right?
I feel like some of them aren't willing to actually, stick with what they know to tweak it, because like with me, like I've always stuck to my own style for years and years and years. And every single time that I even lose a trade, I have to actually go back and tweak it just so I can actually figure out what I did wrong and how I could have went about a trade a certain kind of way to actually make it profitable. And like some people just like really wanted to give up or switch strategies a lot quicker compared to actually sticking with one strategy and actually refine it over time to make it better.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So like you got to be able to actually stick with what you know and refine it to actually find those weak points to actually understand what happened and what you could have did different to make it actually come out like with a different profit, you know, that kind of thing.
That's really good, because I ask a lot of people these questions and it's hard to find advice for the middle guy, because the middle guy's in a rough spot.
But because the middle guy, I feel like the middle guy has a lot of ego involved also. You know what I'm saying? Like by that point, a middle guy had made some money. He actually had you know, a couple big trades, a couple losses, that kind of thing. But at the same time, the middle guy doesn't want to have much advice given to him by another person because they feel like they are on the right track and they feel like they actually know how to trade, quote unquote.
Okay, no, that's really good. That one word kind of put it into perspective, that ego.
Yeah.
So that person who just found some success, finally put a little 10K into their account, and now they're boosted up. They're starting to create some real income from trading. What do you tell them? Make sure, you know, there's some wrong ways to do it. There's some right ways to do it. You can get up to 100K and blow it back down. You can, you know, you can get to 10K and then keep making profit on top of that. What do you tell them in terms of
I feel like just understand that like you don't have to make $1,000 a day. You know, you don't have to make 5K a day and that kind of stuff. Like it's not really necessary. I feel like just understanding that I mean, you could live off even making $200-300 a day and live fabulous. And just understanding that like, you know, a person watching everybody else on Instagram, like that shouldn't affect how they should actually be you know, pressuring their account to actually shoot out profits.
Okay. Yeah, don't force it.
Yeah, like don't force it. Just, you know, stick with your own pace. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like it's you could push an account to its limit, you know, with good leverage and that kind of thing. But at the same time, like, is it really necessary? You know, like there's so much risk there. And a lot of people want the Lambo and that kind of stuff tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? For sure. Versus actually understanding that, like, hey, like you'll eventually get there. Just try to actually gain the love and the precision for that craft, and eventually you'll get to where you want to be. But when you get there, you're going to be ready for anything. Versus actually rushing the process, and you know, one loss can kill 80% of your entire account. Like that's going to hurt you mentally.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So like that way, I feel like this rushing the process to even make a crazy amount of money because you have a 10K account, it's not really worth it. You know what I'm saying? Just try to like gradually build an account is definitely more worth it because you learn a lot more on the way versus actually rushing an account and trying to go super high leverage to actually make a great amount of money. It's not really worth it.
I definitely want to touch up on the building accounts first.
Yeah.
There's something I'm really curious about. This is something I don't actually normally ask a lot of our guests.
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody knows you now. You got the McLarens and the Lambos, and people love you, and they'll fly around the world.
Yeah.
It's an incredible journey. Who was CueBanks before the journey? Who was CueBanks before the fame? Who was CueBanks before Forever in Profit?
I mean, it was always Q. You know what I'm saying? Like CUE was always it. Like ever since high school. You know. But then CueBanks was kind of like, hey, like, you know, CueBanks, like that's like it's self-explanatory. You know what I'm saying? I was just, you know, I used to work at a warehouse for about 3 years straight. I got my first check from there for $300, and then with that $300, I was like, yo, listen, like I just got to work for so and so, and I get this. That's crazy. So I was mind blown because of that check, because that was my first time ever getting a check. You know, so to me that was a lot of money.
Yeah, no, and, I hear that definitely.
And I feel like even that aspect of things is very important because it kind of gives you the respect of a dollar as well. Because if you don't work a 9 to 5 or whatnot, you never get the feeling of what is a dollar. You know what I'm saying? Which is bad because when it comes down to it, when you're getting fucking $1,000 a day, like you could blow it as fast as you get it because you don't understand the value of each dollar that you're actually getting. You know? So I was working at this warehouse for like about 3 years. Pushing around like almost 100 hours every 2 weeks. Like it was ridiculous. And I finally got fired from that job. I mean, I'm just very passionate about how I go about things. I don't feel like I deal well with authority. Like when it comes to managers and that kind of thing, because I talk back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I like to actually go back and forth and that kind of thing because I feel like my way is at times is very, very right. So that kind of thing got me in trouble over time. which was a good thing though, because that made me actually leave that spot, because I feel like if that didn't happen, I would have still been there and been comfortable, you know, because when we were on salary making 2.5 years later, they put me on salary making $623 after taxes on salary, and I was comfortable making that every 2 weeks, and yeah, man, like I feel like I had to get fired so I could actually leave that place to actually get to that next part of my life, and then after that, that's when I actually started actually doing some network marketing and that kind of stuff, and then eventually started working at Target, which is the main story that pretty much everyone actually knows now, because you know that red badge actually says it all. And I feel like during that time, like I was just so unhappy. Like there's one picture that I always post, and you could tell like how different my life was, as far as like my health was just declining and everything. Like I was super slim, I lost weight. It was crazy. Like you could tell like when a person is pretty much just working a job to get by.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And you can see it all over my face. Like it was terrible, man. And so I look back at those times now, and I mean, I appreciate it at the same time, because I had to actually go through those phases in my life to actually get to where I am, from meeting people, from understanding money, from just, you know, from just being around a certain type of people, social settings, everything. So I don't regret anything, but at the same time, I still had the same mindset while I was in all those phases that, yo, listen, like there's different ways on how to make money out here. Y'all don't realize this, you know, because I always spoke to my coworkers like, hey, like, and look, like I look at them like, hey, like outside of this, I actually make like, I do trading outside of work and I actually make so and so, and then they would look at me like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Like, yeah, right. And then
you feel different on those days. If you hit a big win, you come into work, you're like, if somebody talks to me crazy today.
Yeah. Listen,
because
I feel like they just didn't really comprehend certain things that I was actually trying to tell them, like, yo, listen, like there's other ways on how to make money out here. And they would just, you know, just brush it off and that kind of thing, because they never really believed, you know. But until I actually got my first BMW, I said I'm driving to Target, and then one person was like, hey, like I know Target is not paying for that BMW, you know. So I feel like that's where it actually started. So you
always been a car guy? Because I know now people, and I suggest to everybody go follow on, we'll put down in the link in the description all the details you guys need to know, but go follow the Instagram, check this man out.
Yeah.
But they see you now. Have you always been a car person?
I've always been a car guy, bro. Like ever since playing Gran Turismo, like all the Gran Turismos, like from even when I used to be in Jamaica, actually. You ever played that game Cruising in the USA?
No.
It's a super like if anybody knows of that game, Cruising in the USA, it's a super old game, but it's like games that used to be like in the arcade and whatnot, but they had like a Ferrari, they had a Corvette there, they had trucks, like, and I used to just play that all the time. And from that, Gran Turismo, and like I've always been a car guy, bro. Like I've always been a car guy. Like I remember like this one time in Jamaica, somebody had pulled up to my dad's house with a 300 ZX, like a red one, and I could have sworn it was a Ferrari. Like I never knew. But it was a 300 ZX. It was an old one, but it was so classy. I'm like, yo, I was mind blown. So I mean, like
that's just your thing. It just caught your eye.
Yeah. Listen, because people like, hey, like, you buy this car. I'm like, yo, listen, like, I've always been this way, you know, like, and people don't understand that, like, whenever you're making money, it just pretty much it exposes who you really are. So all that's pretty much different about me over the years is just, you know, the maturity level and that kind of stuff. But also, like, I mean, like my love for cars is actually blossoming now, because I could actually, you know, do that kind of hobby now, you know.
For sure.
And yeah, man, like I've always been that guy, you know. Cars.
All right, I really want to get to this next question, get back, give some value to some of these traders. If you guys, this is going to be on audio, but if you guys, I wish you guys could see this visual. Q pulled out a fat chain that has Forever in Profit on it, FIP, iced out chain. It's been staring at the entire call. We might put up a slight link or a slight picture somewhere in the description during the call. We'll have the editors work on that. All right.
Definitely.
Let me ask you, what do traders have wrong today? What are some of the biggest misconceptions that you see? We talked a lot about the Instagram stuff. You know, they're seeing that, getting the wrong perception. But what do people have wrong about the markets? You know, some people think the markets are an easy way to make money. Some people think the markets are risky. Some people think the markets are here forever. What is that misconception you see on a daily basis that you're like?
I feel like people not owning their own perspective. I feel like there's 1,000 ways on how to actually look how to actually analyze the market and whatnot. Like that's why, like whenever it comes down to it, like in my beginning phases, I would actually, you know, have a dialogue with a person, like going back and forth, like, hey, like my style is better, my style is better, my style is better. But over time, like you kind of get to the point like, yo, bro, like if it works for you, it works for you. If you use indicators, that's cool with me. If you don't, that's fine also. As long as you're actually making money inside the market, that's fine. So the biggest misconception is that like everyone thinks that their style is the best way on how to actually go about the market, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think there is a best strategy now, or have you kind of came away from there and been like, no?
I feel like you have to, like the biggest thing, I wouldn't say the best, but I feel like one major necessity to actually being able to become a good trader is, you know, understanding the foundation of the market, which is pretty much, you know, understanding price action, understanding technical analysis to a certain extent, understanding fundamentals. And, you know, beyond that right there is pretty much where you actually can tweak your workflow and that kind of thing to make it your own. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I feel like just the biggest thing, understanding price action is probably like one of the most fundamental things to actually understand. So you can pretty much get to that next phase of creating your own style. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, for sure. That's something that's really important. I want you guys to stop back. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're taking these notes, that's something really important. He said price action is that fundamental, kind of that base layer for everything you're going to build in Forex. So big priority for some of you new guys before you get into these fancy indicator strategies that someone's trying to sell you.
Correct. And like I look at that aspect like this right here. Like you remember like back in school when you're in like math class or like whatever, right? Like you don't get a calculator immediately. You know what I'm saying? Like you get a calculator down the line, but before that you have to actually write all the you know, show your work, like how the you say you can do the math problem, but also show your work. Like showing your work is pretty much that fundamental aspect of doing like a math problem, right? Later down the line, you don't have to show your work anymore, but you could actually get on the calculator and just type things in and get the answer, which is what like an indicator is for in a sense. But if you go straight into the indicator, you don't understand the fundamentals on how, on like what moves that indicator, which is pretty much the price action. You know what I'm
saying? I see.
So
you understand the math behind it.
You got to understand, you know,
the process behind it.
The process behind, hey, like, okay, if I have this indicator, okay, the indicator does so and so, but that indicator is based off of past price. That's why it's a lagging indicator. So if you don't understand what moves that indicator from the fundamental aspect of things, you're not going to pretty much understand, you know, the true meaning of what that indicator is showing you, because you don't understand that base ground of things, which is the price action.
Okay. So you're talking a lot about price action. I want to get your opinion on this. What kind of trader would you say that you are? So that you've talked about price action. Let's talk about short-term, long-term, aggressive, non-aggressive.
I feel like I'm very dynamic, man. Like I actually flow along with the market very, very well. I wouldn't say that I'm purely an intraday trader. I'll say like I'm just dynamic, because there's certain times that my entry wise has to be based off of like a scalp type of mentality to actually get those precision entries like how I like to. But then again, once I'm inside that trade with that minimum drawdown and whatnot, I have to actually think on a swing type of mentality for my overall analysis, but also on my intraday type of mentality. I have to be able to maintain that order as long as possible, building up to that swing type of mentality. So it's like I'm very, very dynamic in those 3 phases, because I'm using the scout mentality for my entries and my intraday mentality for being able to actually hold an order for a long period of time, building up to my swing mentality that gives me my overall analysis and my overall take profit and whatnot. So like, I'm thinking of all those aspects of things while I'm in a trade. So I wouldn't say that I'm just a swing trader, just an intraday trader, or just a scalper. Like I'm pretty much all three. I'm just a trader. Like that's what I. Yeah, that's what I.
Well-rounded. Before we get on to the next round, let's actually go through those. So for scalping, intraday, and swinging, what would be those top skills for you that you would need for each one that you personally use? So for scalping, is it, for swinging, it's obviously the patience.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like with the scalp type of mentality, you have to have a very good understanding when it comes to your candlestick analysis and pretty much understanding the anatomy of a candlestick. By understanding, how much volume is in each candle and that kind of stuff, like what makes a candle actually fully valid for like a certain type of candlestick pattern and whatnot. The intraday aspect of things, I feel like you have to have a really good aspect of an understanding of structure, or market structure, and understanding what your overall target is based off of your higher time frame. So like the swing mentality is pretty much just understanding the overall goal, and not getting lost in all those details that you could be seeing on an intraday type of mindset. So like you're still having the overall goal in mind. And I always think about this like life in a sense. You could have, okay, my career is all the way out there, which is kind of like a swing, right? The career is super far, right? But then the intraday is kind of like what you're doing on your daily basis and that kind of thing. And, building up to that career. So you could have counter trends and whatnot, but at the same time, as long as you're still staying bullish the entire time, then you're going to eventually get to that overall goal, which is that career. It might be hard. It might take long with a lot of obstacles and whatnot, but it still is going to get there based off of you actually maintaining a certain kind of trend and that kind of stuff to actually build up to that swing type of mentality, which is the career. So like,
no,
I like thinking about it like.
I definitely hear that.
Yeah,
no, that's a really good way to put it. I've never really
definitely
like that. Where you build on those, you go from intraday to swinging, because it does take a huge leap. It does take way more patience.
Definitely.
Q, we got some fire round questions that we usually ask to all of our guests. These are just questions that a lot of our traders ask us, and we figured that since you guys are the experts, we would run them by all of you and see if we can get some of these answers from you. So, stop losses. Do you use them? Do you not use them? A lot of misinformation out there. I just want to set the record on this.
Yeah, so I do use them, but it's never like I have I put a physical stop loss immediately. So whenever I actually place a trade, I'll have a mental stop loss, but then once the trade is pretty much running and it's kind of active and flowing and whatnot, then I'll pretty much understand like where the stop loss could be placed, so I'm not at a risk of eventually getting it hit. So it's like I wouldn't place my stop loss immediately once I place a trade, but eventually as the trade is running, I'll place it. And once I pretty much understand the parameters as to like how much it could actually flow in between a certain zone and not get hit. So yeah, I definitely use them because I feel like people who don't use them, their account eventually get, whacked. And they're out of the game, so it's very important to actually, understand your risk management and understand how much you're willing to actually lose each and every trade. So you can stay inside the game as long as possible.
No, I really appreciate the honesty on that. It's whether you have a physical stop loss or not, or you said it, bless you. It's whether you have a physical stop loss or not, or you're going to set it, at least have a mental one. That was a really important key that you just.
Definitely.
Next question that we would have would be about withdrawals. So what's your take on withdrawal strategy? When do you pull out money of your account? Do you have like a 20-20-30 thing, or do you just, whenever you make money?
With me, like, I mean, I'm kind of different because I have a bunch of sources of income and whatnot. But like when it comes to me, like I only like trade like heavy whenever I want something, as far as like a car part and that kind of thing. Like let's say I have a set of wheels that cost like 10,000. I would actually go on the market and trade for that, and then pretty much withdraw that money based off of me wanting that. So I could easily go inside my bank account and pretty much take out on 10,000 and pay for it, but I feel like I need to earn it if I want to actually pay for something kind of like that. But for the normal person, I feel like they would actually be better off withdrawing every 2 weeks or every week, just so you could pretty much pay for your bills and whatnot, create like a separate account to actually pay for all of your bills. Because I tell people all the time, like back in 2016, I had a $30,000 week trading UJ in October of 2016. And
how long have you been trading when you hit that 30K?
I was in orders for about like 4 or 5 days.
Okay, no, I meant like duration as long as like longevity in the market.
Like on average?
No, I meant like, had you been trading for like 3 years, 4 years? You said you started in 2014, right?
24. I started taking it seriously in 2014, like late 2014.
Okay, so 2016. This is when this week happened.
Correct. Yeah. The on 30K a week, definitely. And I took out that money and I put it in a bank account. So that entire 2017, all my bills, all of my rent, everything, phone bill, everything was paid out of that one account. So I put everything on auto pay. And the entire year I was stress-free because I had time to actually focus on my craft the entire year with no kind of interruptions, knowing that in the back of my head, everything's already paid for the entire year based off of that 1 week of profits that I made in the October of 2016. So I feel like with withdrawals, definitely be smart with it. Like if you have like a big day every now and then, put it in one bank account, put all of your bills on auto pay. So pretty much you could focus on your craft without worrying about, okay, I gotta pay this bill, this bill, this bill. You can be smart with it and just work smart with the money.
Oh, that's genius.
Definitely.
Definitely appreciate that insight. There's 2 more things on this hot fire trading list, or this hot fire list, that all of our traders want to know.
Definitely.
The third one would be risk management. So what's your take on risk management? This one, I feel like we're gonna have agreement on, but the next 2 are gonna be the ones that a lot of people definitely want to know.
Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to risk management, like that's like one of the topics as well. That is, it's very, very subjective based on the person's level of skill, precision, and everything else. And like when it comes to me, like I love doing like based on let's like normal currencies, no indexes, nothing like that. Every $1,000 in my account up to like around 7,000, I would do a standard lot, which means like if I have $1,000 in my account, 1 lot, 2,000, 2 lots, up until like around $7,000, and then beyond that, I'll pretty much just stick with like around 5 lots or 6 lots all the way up until a certain amount. So every other certain big amount, I would actually increase my lot size. So like let's say 1 to 7,000, max 7 lots. 15,000, I could probably start doing 5 lots. So like I'm scaling in with 5 lots up to like around 10 lots. Up around 25,000, I could actually start doing probably like a 10 lot and like a 5 lot. So like I pretty much understand like every certain amount that I have in my account, I could start scaling in or actually start, eventually scaling in orders based off of a certain lot size. It could be 5, 5, 5. It could be 10, 10, 10, whatever. But like my risk management is just based off like my level of confidence, precision, and then just understanding. So that's like one thing that people don't really.
Giving these honest answers, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, because people got to understand that like everybody sees things differently, but at the same time it works for that person. So you can't really argue. Like some people would get pissed off, like, hey, that's bad risk management. Like I'm negative. Like I'm like, yo, the fucking trade is positive. Like why are you arguing? Why are you mad? So it's like those kind of things I don't really understand, because I'm like, yo, it's not like the trade is negative. Like, and what I do works for me. I obviously practice it a lot, and yeah, man, that's like one thing that not many people like really agree on, because they have their own perspective on how they risk manage their account based off of their level of skill.
Wow.
Yeah,
right, that's really good. And we're gonna get back to that. Honestly, I'm gonna go back and circle around to that. Trying to trade like other people are trading other people's strategy, and not everybody can do that. If you're an aggressive person and you're trying to trade like somebody who's very timid, and you always feel like you want to do more, it's going to be that mismatch. But
definitely.
Let's get into some of these fundamentals. Do you watch fundamentals, and what role do they play in your trading?
So honestly, like I've been like a technical analysis trader for so long, bro. Like, and I just started actually getting into the fundamental aspect of things like within this past year. Because the pair that I trade pretty often now is like US 30 and that kind of thing. So like that pair is pretty much affected by a lot of fundamental aspects of things. So like when I started actually getting into that, I seen my trading actually become a lot less stressful because I pretty much understand the fundamental aspect of things, and then I pretty much match it with my technical analysis of things. And once they all like line up, you know, I'm good money. So I feel like it helped out a lot by actually just adding some reassurance, knowing that okay, this is happening in the world. My technical analysis is lining up for so and so type move. It makes sense, you know. So it kind of just adds a bit more of a confirmation to my analysis, knowing that fundamental aspect of things.
Okay. Now before that, before this 1 year span where you actually did get into fundamental analysis, you were doing just fine with technicals?
All technicals, yeah, man. All technicals. I was doing just fine because I was on all currencies. But when I started trading with indexes and like on metals and that kind of thing, like, you know, the fundamentals were actually like a big part of it. So yeah.
Key, major key. All right. Last but not least, where was that list? Last but not least, trading in a community versus trading by yourself. So the difference, you know, some people say that trading in a community gives them a little bit too much noise, so they feel like it's a distraction. Some people like trading with a community because you and I both know it can get boring.
Yeah.
You know, doing the same thing over and over again every day by yourself. So what's your take on trading in a community versus alone?
I feel like you gotta have like a little bit of both because so like whenever you're by yourself, you gotta understand that, you know, you're always gonna be by yourself. Like when it comes to the trading world, like no matter how you think about it, like you're always gonna be by yourself because like you could have a friend that started trading with you, but at the same time they might not be as passionate about the craft as you are, and then eventually, no kind of time frame, but eventually somebody's going to become more passionate about it than the other person, you know, and then one person eventually just stop trading or stop doing it because they probably blew an account and their mental is just fucked up. And then you keep on going because you pretty much understand the process and understand the potential of it. So that aspect of things is important because you got to just always think about yourself, you know, striving to upgrade inside the trading world and not depending on somebody else or a community to actually get you there. But the community is good also because it's good to always have a conversation with a person that pretty much understands trading, you know. Like I have a friend that comes over every now and then and like, you know, we can spark up a conversation about trading, and then that conversation can actually go on for 20, 30, 40 minutes, an hour because we go through it, you know, and
for sure.
It could be like we have a bad week, a fucking terrible week, a great week, and they could relate because they are going through the same exact thing versus you actually being a person that is not around anybody and you can't really, you know, vent about your bad weeks or your good weeks to another person because the other person might not even understand the lingo that you're speaking. So I feel like it's just good to actually be able to vent and, you know, relate to another trader because they are going through the same thing like how you're going through it. And it's always good to actually hear about them. Like, you go through the same thing, right? Yeah, man, like me too, bro. Yeah.
Wow.
That's always a relief.
No, that's definitely a relief. You can't go to like one of your coworkers and be like, I can't believe UJ hit stop loss today or something like that.
They're going to say, huh? Crazy. What?
Yeah. All right. So we did touch up on a slight topic. I said I was going to come back to this, which is trading like people who are not part of who don't have the same mentality as you. So if someone is a timid person, they're a little bit more risk off, and they see somebody on Instagram and that person's always winning, but that person's an aggressive trader and they're trying to trade like them, but they keep getting wiped out. What would you say to that person about trying to trade within within, you know, or just mentorship in general? What would you advise somebody in trying to look for a mentor?
I gotta feel like you gotta understand where you are. You know, you gotta understand on where you are in your journey. You gotta understand, you know, how precise you are. And I feel like the big thing, like when it comes to trading, is like you have to be real with yourself 24/7. You can't lie to yourself. If a trade is going bad, you got to pretty much understand like, yo, this shit is not going in my favor. I have to actually exit because this happened. This same situation happened in 2018 with me and my brother actually that lives with me. We were in one trade and I was down like I think I probably had about like 20K inside my account. I was down about 2,000-3,000, right? And that was about like 60 pips at the time, right? And my brother was like, yo, listen, like I'm not too sure about this and that, this and that. And I'm just like, yo, it's the beginning of the move. Like the market barely even moved yet, but he's stressing. And I'm like, yo, it's the beginning of the move. Like, why are you tripping out? He couldn't handle the pressure. So I pretty much understood, like, yo, man, like, I'm not tripping. Like, the market barely even moved. Like, I'm not looking at the numbers of things. I'm good. And then that same trade ended up being about like almost like $11,000 in profit. If I just waited out a tad bit, and he couldn't handle the pressure, but I pretty much understood it. And yeah, so like a person can actually fully go off the same type of mentality like somebody else because they don't fully understand how much the other person understands the chart or their overall motive for the entire trade. So like you can see a person on Instagram say, okay, buy UJ at so-and-so, but you don't know their mentality. That it could have been a scalp. It could have been an intraday trade. It could have been a swing trade. You know what I'm saying? So like you got to pretty much, you know, understand where you are within your trading style and understand that like everybody's always going to have like a different mindset on, you know, why they're in a certain trade for a certain amount of time for a certain reason and that kind of thing. And once you understand that, it'll kind of like push you more to, you know, learning the craft yourself, because once you can pretty much, you know, understand the craft for yourself, you can have your own reason and pretty much, you know, give your own advice before actually going on Instagram looking for just signals the entire time, because you don't know that person's mentality or their motive for a certain kind of trade.
Okay, that's great. That's really awesome. So what would you say are the top qualities of a successful trader? So you're obviously a successful trader. You know a bunch of successful people along the way, and you've seen different variations of successful traders because people have their different strategies. What would you say are the commonalities or the underlying factors between successful traders?
I feel like we don't give up. Like giving up is not even like a thought, you know, like give up. Like, are you serious? Like, what the heck? Like, because it's so much potential inside the market. So I feel like us just being determined for greatness, us just pretty much just being resilient to, you know, giving up on our weight on how we look at the market. We have a way that we have bigger goals than just, you know, just trading, you know, like there's a lot of life after trading also. And I feel like just the mentality, I feel like it's always just the mentality that actually separates a person from being great from just a mediocre person, honestly. So I feel like all the people that I surround myself with that is actually at their top of their game in trading, we just have a similar mindset like when it comes to this, you know, the passion, the patience, the discipline, all those key aspect of things. And I always say passion plus patience equals power. And that's what I go by a lot, because you have to have a passion to actually be patient and learn a craft, you know, and once you pretty much have those two things, you'll pretty much eventually have the power, you know, to actually own that craft.
Oh, that's awesome. Passion and patience, two very
equals power.
You guys can learn, and equals power. That's the whole equation, guys.
Yeah.
Also, you talked a lot about discipline. You talked a lot about some of these like really important factors in being a successful trader. I want to know right now and where you are, where do you see learning? Are you constantly learning, or do you get to a point? Because a lot of new traders, they tend to think that you get to a certain point in your trading career where you don't have to learn anymore and you kind of just get control. What would you tell that person about the learning curve?
I mean, the learning curve never stops, you know, like, even till this day, like, I mean, I like just started, you know, dabbling in the fundamental analysis and that kind of stuff. Like, so like, that's like a whole new language that I have to learn also. So like, this me, just, you know, just being, just dropping my ego and pretty much being able to actually take in new information. That's very important, because that new information might be from a student of mine, you know what I'm saying? And that student might be more sufficient in a certain category that I'm not even, you know, into at all. So I feel like just being open to actually taking in new information regardless of who's coming from, and just understanding like the learning curve, there is no time frame there. And once you put a time frame on your learning curve, that's when you fail. And just understanding that like, yo, eventually you'll get to where you want to be, but just don't ever put a time limit on it. Just work hard every single day and pretty much have passion to even want to get better every single day, but don't put a time limit on it, because once you do, that's when you're going to pretty much, set yourself up for failure.
Oh, that's really good. So if we're going to be talking on that subject of lessons, what would you say is one of the biggest lessons that you learned from Forex? Because it's a personal journey, but it's also like, okay, what would you say your biggest lesson was personal, or would you say it was from the markets, or what would you say it was?
I feel like it's from the markets, definitely. Don't be scared to lose money. That's the biggest thing. I feel like that's like really like the biggest lesson. Don't be scared to lose money, because the same amount of money that you lose, like you could always make it back up times 100. You just have to be disciplined enough to pretty much understand that the market temporarily has my money, and I gotta get it back. Some people just give up saying like, yeah, man, like I lost thousands out of market. I'm like, but you could have made thousands on a trade.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember losing $1,000 like in like a minute and a half or 2 minutes back in 2015. Like me and Ryan used to actually meet up and trade NFT together. Like that's when we used to just be doing like a lot of dumb shit and just try to trade NFT. Like we deposited $1,000 and try to go full margin on that NFT trade, and yeah, man, like lose $1,000 in a few minutes, and after that, I would just
direction, or were you hedging it like buy
stop,
sell, stop?
Just one direction, bro. Like we used to just go all out, and just pretty much just understanding that, like, yo, listen, like I look back at it and I laugh now, like that's a funny story now. To traders, it's a funny story because I'm like, yo, bro, I lost $1,000 in minutes, bro. Oh God.
Yeah.
But I think about it now, like, yo, listen, like I've done a lot with $1,000 account. I've built it up to almost 6 figures multiple times before, and like just understanding that aspect of things, like you have to be open to losing money at times if you want to actually gain money in the future. And like I feel like losing money like that, or even like $1,000, and like losing 10K, 20K at times in a day, it makes you numb. It makes you numb to seeing red. And I feel like that's very, very big to some people at times. Like I tell people all the time, like get numb to seeing red. Get numb to seeing red, because once you're numb to seeing red, you're not going to make a little bit of drawdown scare you out of a trade. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you have to be numb to seeing it not be in your favor, but you pretty much understand your analysis so much that you're not going to get psyched out by it being in a little bit of drawdown. You know what I'm saying?
Would you say those were the trades that paid off the heaviest for you? Is the ones where you thought you were about to close and you just held on a little bit too, and then they just kept running?
Yeah, bro. Like last year, I think September, when I had did the 100K day trade on gold. Actually, I was down like 17K, and I was like, yo, listen, like I don't know about this, but listen, like I understand my analysis. The most I'm willing to lose is probably 25,000. It's at 17,000 negative, like right now.
When you made the 100K in a day, what year was this?
That was last year. That was like literally like 5 months ago.
5 months ago? Okay.
Yeah, like 5-6 months ago. Yeah, September of last year, actually. On gold.
That's when things started getting a little. That's when things started getting a little shaky, trade wars and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. And I look back at it now, like, listen, like if I had held certain trades, that 100K day trade, it could have been $200,000. But like, I was just so like, yo, I've never hit a 100K in a day trade before. So like, listen, I'm satisfied. And I closed out, and like 12 hours later, it dropped another 200 pips. So I'm like, yo, what the hell? So, but me being open to seeing negative made that possible. And if I wasn't open to seeing negative, I would actually just got scared, closed out, and missed out on a lot. And then I feel like, this being numb, it brings you to actually get to that next level. And once you are getting to those next levels and breaking those barriers, those mental barriers in trading, it opens those doors for bigger profits.
Okay, let's talk about the mental barrier real quick. Because I know a lot of traders that are starting off, they think it's the technicals, they think it's this and that. But I've seen a lot of our students, and I've seen a lot of traders in general, they get to a certain dollar amount and seem to make the same mistakes every time. They kind of have a limiting ceiling on a certain number that they're trading with. Where do you think that comes from, and how can people break through that that ceiling they put on themselves for how much they think their account is worth?
I mean, I feel like they always, okay, I'm going to deposit $1,000. I'm gonna build it to 100,000, like stuff like that. I feel like once you get to that quote unquote mental number, Either withdraw your account, just withdraw, and then pretty much start back from scratch. So you pretty much have money, on a reserve. But if you get back to that dollar amount that you mess up on, either drop your lot size to actually get past that barrier. But I feel like that dollar amount is just one thing, like a huge hump that a lot of people actually suffer from. But at the same time, like they got to pretty much just move a bit different when it comes close to that dollar amount. Either drop your lot size, either withdraw your account, do something, but don't keep on trading. Because that like mentally wise, like you're not right around a certain number. Okay, just eliminate that by cutting the account, or even doing something different around that certain number, so you can gradually pass that dollar amount and then get to that next roadblock.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so that combined with the fact that you just start taking larger losses, it kind of big ups the game for you. It kind of keeps raising that bar for you. I think
it does, because
so what that timeline look for? I mean, what that timeline look like for you between the time where you were in the space where you weren't making any money to the point where you started kind of getting the hang of it, to the point where you started getting consistent? Like, how did that timeline look like for you?
Like personally, like I would say that like my learning curve was very, very, I wouldn't say that it was too rough. I hit my first 1K day probably like my fourth or fifth month trading. But also, like, keep in mind, like, it's not as if I say that I was trading, one day out of every other week. I was literally trading every single day for the past like 6 years. Like this, like I'm on the charts every single, like 365 days. I'm on the charts probably 360 days. Like I'm barely ever taking like time off. So it's like I'm always growing at a rapid rate, and really trying to like back test, like really try to figure out certain things, and just like really, really refine my style as much as possible. And like I feel like I gave it a lot of time, and that growth factor, like that profit factor and whatnot, it came very, very fast for me because I was giving it a lot of my time throughout the entire day. Like even when I was at Target, I'm in between aisles just trading. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm literally stocking aisles and whatnot in Target, and I'm trading at the same time. And yeah, man, like I gave it a good amount of my days to get better. So yeah, like that growth factor happened very, very quick, and like it happened at a rapid rate. That's why I hit my 30K day trade, pretty fast, I feel like. And the 100K on day trade, the 100K day trade, building accounts from $1,000 to 75K, $1,000 account to 50K, like in a week. Like I've done that many, many times, and that has all came from that rapid growth factor, like how I was saying, like from all that work I put in every single day for the past couple of years.
So if that's the biggest key, because now I know that you have students, and I know that you've had students in the past. Is everybody built to flip accounts like that? Because I know that people try to do the same thing and just go off track. Like what's the personality trait of somebody that can accurately do that and successfully?
I feel like just the patience, patience, and pretty much the patience as to understand what kind of, like how the account has to be leveraged patiently to actually be able to get up to the bigger amounts of profit, to hit those huge profit gains and whatnot. Because like I remember even after hitting my I was trading XRP, and I think in 2017 I did a $1,500 to 74K like in a week. And I had one of my friends call me up like, bro, what the fuck? That shit was insane, man. I just tried it, but it didn't work out. And I was like, man, like, listen, like, and I pretty much gave him like a step-by-step how I increased my lot size over time. And so everything wasn't rushed. Everything was gradually, I was gradually upping my lot size over time as I had more equity and pretty much better reasoning on certain trades and whatnot. So I mean, and like once I get inside that flow of things, like I just get very, very zoned in and just like focused, and yeah, things just make sense, Like you ever like get inside that zone and then you're just so narrowed in, and yeah, man, like trades just like just work out, So yeah.
Q is locked in. That's what he is.
Yeah,
he's trading in that zone.
definitely.
All right, so I was going to save that last question. I was going to kind of leave a surprise at the very end, talk about that day that you made 100K. Instead, kind of because you already touched up on that, instead, I want you to do top tips for new traders, maybe in their first 1 to 4 months, kind of figuring out if they're getting the hang of it. What advice would you give those people to make sure they see it to the other side?
The biggest thing, invest in knowledge. That's probably like one of the biggest tips. Like why the fuck are you not going to invest in something that somebody else has already gone through and they could help guide you through? The second step is be patient. Understand your journey. Understand where you want to be in a certain amount of time. Understand how you want to live, which is probably like one of the biggest things. Is understand the kind of lifestyle that you want to live. If a person just want like a 1-story house with a 1-bedroom, paying $800 in rent, then they don't have to go super, super crazy on trading all too much, because you could, make that pretty easily.
Yep.
Versus a person that wants, like, I want a jet, I want to fly private here, private there. They're going to be a different place mentally because they want more money. So understand where you want to be in the future through trading. Understand that you have to be passionate about the craft. Like you can't come on to this niche and feel like you're going to become a millionaire because you are trading. Not at all. Like you have to be passionate about it. You got to be passionate about the learning curve. You got to be passionate about, the long nights, you got to be passionate about the wins, the losses, the headaches, learning new terminology. Like you got to be passionate about every little aspect of this craft to actually get to that other side. And if you're not, and if your passion is just through motivation from somebody else, then you're not going to make it. You have to be self-motivated with passion to actually make it to that other side. Because if your passion is through a person that's motivating you, that person's not going to always be there. And I feel like that person's not even dependable to bring you to where you want to be. You got to have a different kind of motivation to actually push through all those rough patches that you're going to actually eventually go through.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Great way to end this interview.
Definitely.
Mr. Quillan Black, CueBanks, guys. We're going to include all the links to everything, how you guys can find them in the link to this description. From Chart Addicts and the entire Chart Addicts community, thank you for getting on the Expert Trader podcast.
Please. Pleasure, man. Pleasure.